thoughts on the trade deadline? There was a couple of big things that I think happened. I've got a list down here. Well, I took some notes this morning about what went on. We can have a look over in my notes app over here. So I think the biggest trade of this entire trade deadline was that Nikola Vucevic deal, and I have a feeling that you guys all agree with me there. And then probably Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets for the second best. Evan Fournier to Boston for almost nothing. Yes, it does kind of contradict what they think they did, but Evan Fournier to the Boston Celtics is big. The entire new Heat squad getting rid of that contract of Kelly Olynyk basically brought in Victor Oladipo for Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, which I'm sure Heat fans don't mind at all. Rondo to the Clippers. I don't think that's the point guard that the Clippers needed. I think they probably should have gone a little bit harder after Lonzo Ball, although I know that the Clippers don't have too much value going in. Philadelphia George Hill. Now, I think that is an underrated signing. I think that because they couldn't get Kyle Lowry, because they didn't give up a good enough package for him for the Raptors, I think George Hill is a great piece for them to put alongside. They need a secondary ball handler because I mean, Tyrese Maxey can handle the ball a bit, but I think Tyrese prefers playing the off guard. So this was definitely interesting. We haven't figured out the buyout market yet, but we'll get around to that sometime this week, won't we? This trade deadline kicked off with the Kings sending a 2021 second-round pick via Lakers to Pistons for Dillon Wright. Pretty self-explanatory. Pistons wanted to get rid of Wright for 2 second-round picks. I think that's a dub. Yeah, like I said, the Raptors thought about trading Kyle Lowry. Didn't get offered the right deal, so fair enough. They decided to hold off. The Cleveland Cavaliers are finalizing a deal to send JaVale McGee to the Denver Nuggets. Big dub. Big dub, because I know the Cavs don't really need that many centers. JaVale McGee's been having a decent season, if we go over to basketball reference here. JaVale on the Cavaliers have been having a decent season, I could say. You could say he's been averaging 8 points. He's been doing a little bit more from last season. Yes, he is not on a contending team. That's probably why he's putting up better stats. But McGee to the Nuggets, they needed a better big, probably a better backup big, and because they were starting, they were having Isaiah Hardenstein as their backup center. Now they've got JaVale McGee, they've got a proper backup center. So that was a dub. Picking up JaVale McGee for the Denver Nuggets. Orlando continues to wish offers for Vucevic. Yep, and then so that tweet came through, and then like three minutes later, this tweet came through. Orlando is trading Vucevic, Al-Farouq Aminu to the Chicago Bulls. This Bulls-Orlando type of trade was big, bros. Big. Bulls are sending Wendell Carter Jr. and 2 first-round picks to the Magic. That's perfect. Picking them up, Al-Farouq Aminu and Nikola Vucevic. Now pairing Zach LaVine with another All-Star, which hopefully, helps them make the playoffs and maybe even get further along. I don't know much about the Chicago Bulls roster right now. I haven't been paying attention, so if you want more about that, check out King of 4 Quarters reaction video. That went up like an hour ago. Have a watch of that. That's very, very insightful. The Bulls also sent Otto Porter in that deal. Contract matching, fair enough. And then Boston is serious talks to acquire Orlando guard Evan Fournier. And guess what? Evan Fournier went to Boston for 2 second-round picks, I think that was, and maybe cash consideration, I think. The Magic have traded Nikola Vucevic, Evan Fournier with Aaron Gordon still left. And guess what? The Orlando Magic are progressing a trade to send Aaron Gordon to the Denver Nuggets, and they send Aaron Gordon to the Denver Nuggets. Who's the Bulls' small forward? Thaddeus Young? I'd move Thaddeus to the 3, play Lowry at the 4, and then have Vucevic at... So you'd have Kobe White at the 1. So you'd run Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Thaddeus Young. Oh yeah, Patrick Williams. Forgot about Pat Williams. Yeah, they got Patrick Williams. So they could either, if they want to go older or if they want to go younger, it depends on how they would do it. Yeah, that's a good shout, Connor. Good shout. Basically, Aaron Gordon gets sent to Denver, which, like I've said, is a very, 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 very good trade. I think Aaron Gordon on that Denver Nuggets team is going to be perfect. Yes, Aaron Gordon is not exactly great defensively as they would have liked. However, as Paul Millsap and Jermichael Green are getting a little bit older, you could play Aaron Gordon at the 3 or the 4, probably the 4, have Michael Porter Jr. at the 3, and then Paul Millsap come off the bench, or even flip them as they would be. And then Washington trade Troy Bolton and Mo Wagner to Chicago for Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson. I don't know why Chicago moved on from Daniel Gafford, because they signed Daniel Tice. Duh. That's why. But Aaron Gordon went to the Nugs for Gary Harris, and I think it was... Who was it? Who else went in that deal? Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first-round pick to the Magic for Aaron Gordon. Sacramento sent Bielitsa to the Heat. So the Heat had amazing trade deadline. They brought, the first move they did was bring in Bielitsa. Bielitsa replaces Meyers Leonard's role on the team, shooting, a little bit of big man, not so much defense, but a lot of shooting, and it helps him out a lot on the offensive end. Then your OKC Thunder are finalizing a trade for George Hill to the Sixers. Like I said, is a bloody huge pickup for them. A secondary ball handler, so Tyrese Maxey can just focus on getting to the basket and scoring, because that's what Tyrese Maxey is very good at. He is a very, very good scorer, and I think he's going to be something for the Philadelphia 76ers in a couple of seasons. But Miami sent Mo Harkless and Chris Silver to the Kings for Bielitsa. Been over that. And then George Hill for Tony. So George Hill went to OKC. Philadelphia picked up George Hill for Tony Bradley, Terrence Ferguson, and 2 future second-round picks. Austin Rivers goes to OKC in a part of a 3-way deal. And then Toronto traded a Norm Powell to Portland for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. I don't know how to feel about that trade just yet, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Like, how do you guys feel about this trade here? Toronto trading Norm Powell to Portland for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. But I did like Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent has been having a great couple of seasons, and it's a shame to see him leave Portland. He fit in well there. Okay, yeah. Now OKC has 34 draft picks over the next 7 years. 17 first-round picks and 17 second-round picks. So basically, it's the OKC draft in the next couple of 7 seasons. All we're going to be seeing is OKC. And then Toronto traded guard Matt Thomas to Utah for a second-round pick. Fair enough. Toronto is trading Matt Thomas to the Utah Jazz. Yep, pretty much. What else is going on here? Then the Hawks and Clippers deal came through. The Hawks and Clippers discussing a trade for Rajon Rondo. Basically, it came down to Rajon for Lou Will, and I think the Clippers gave up 2 second-round picks as well. But basically, the Hawks traded Rajon Rondo to the Clippers for Lou Will, and they also sent like 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks to the Hawks in the deal. So the Hawks picked up Lou Will, a decent scorer. Apparently, he's going to be retiring now because he left LA, but they also picked up 2 second-round picks there, which is good. For the Clippers, not so much, because Rajon Rondo is extremely old, and for 2 second-round picks, he could be retiring after the end of this season as well. Lou Will said he'd retire if he got traded. Yeah, fair enough. If we do see if we see him get traded, it'll be funny. And then Toronto traded guard Terrence Davis, which is a bit weird because Terrence Davis has been having a pretty decent season, but he got traded for a future second-round pick. And then this is the big one that got me. This is the one that got me. All right, I got to admit, this happened, and I was kind of like, what? This happened, and I was like, what? And that is JJ Redick actually got traded. I thought he was going to be in the buyout market. He got traded to the Dallas Mavericks. Which, for the Dallas Mavericks, that gives them more shooting off the bench. I didn't think New Orleans were going to be able to find a deal for JJ, and they did. They managed to find a deal for JJ to the Mavericks, which is absolutely huge. The Hornets are acquiring Golden State's Brad Wanamaker, pretty easy. And then the final big trade coming in at the buzzer, I think it was. Houston is trading Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat for Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk and a draft swap, which I got to admit is an absolute steal for the Heat boys. It's an absolute steal. Consider it, I mean, they could have waited until the free agency because I'm pretty sure Oladipo would have signed there anyway. But they just had to give up Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk for Victor Oladipo. I don't know how much money Victor Oladipo is going to want to be asking for at the end of this season. But Oladipo to Miami. That's big. That's big. That's actually really big. And then Golden State traded Marquise Chris to the Spurs. Boston is trading center Daniel Tice to Chicago. So Mo Wagner goes to the Celtics. Basically, Mo Wagner got traded to the Celtics just after being traded. Dallas sent James Johnson, Wesley Wandu, and a second-round pick to the New Orleans Pelicans to acquire JJ Redick and Nicolo Melli. Mavericks acquiring 2 shooters to bolster their depth. Pelicans receive a gritty veteran forward in Johnson. Honestly, I thought they were going to use James Johnson to get I don't know, maybe like an Al Horford or something, but I suppose no one really wanted Al Horford. Kyle Lowry didn't end up getting traded. Marcus Aldridge is finalizing a contract buyout. The Pacers waived Jalen Lacroix, and then LaMarcus is going to be on the buyout market, probably alongside Andre Drummond. Meyers Leonard's on the market. I don't think any team's going to go near him at the moment, sadly. And that's really about it. New story, the Kings plan to waive Jabari Parker. Okay. That's interesting. But that's really about it. That's really about it. Thoughts? Dubs are... I'd go Miami are dubs. I'd say... Who else? I'd say the Bulls are a dub. I'd also say the Sixers got away with a pretty decent trade deadline. The Knicks really didn't do much. An L is the Houston Rockets. Celtics got... I wouldn't say a huge Celtics dub, Cupperson. I wouldn't say huge Celtics dub. I would say... I wouldn't... Honestly, I would say Celtics... not free agency. Celtics trade deadline was kind of like an L. I'd say it's an L. They got smaller. I mean, wait, who did they sign here real quick? Who did they trade Mo Wagner for? No, they got Mo Wagner. Yeah, I'd say the Celtics lost. The Heat, Bulls, and Clippers all got better and won every trade they made. I'd say the Celtics took a huge L because they were looking for size, and guess what? They didn't add anyone. They actually got smaller. The Celtics have to get either Drummond or LaMarcus Aldridge in at the buyout market. Otherwise, they're fucked. All right, otherwise they're screwed. If you're trying to compete for a championship, which I think the Celtics are. They didn't do it. They didn't do much. So let's just react to this article here, and I'll give you my thoughts about the buyout market. So number one, Andre Drummond. I think the Nets, Lakers, who else could potentially, Celtics. I think a lot of teams would be very, very interested in Drummond, but it depends on how he wants to do today. It depends on how he wants to do it. They do still have Tristan Thompson. Yeah, fair play. So I think the Celtics need to try and get Andre Drummond, but that comes down to him on what team he's going to go to. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be there, so if maybe I see the Celtics maybe going after him, I see the Nets, I see the Heat. I think the Heat are reportedly interested in LaMarcus Aldridge, so that's interesting. Maybe. What do you guys think of LaMarcus to the Celtics? You don't think the Bulls are contenders right now? I'd say they're contenders in the East. I'd say they are, because where are they right now? The Bulls, they're 10th. They are 2 games away. Yeah, 2 games behind the 8th seeded Celtics. Which, by the way, the Celtics, what's the Celtics doing? What are the Celtics doing down at the 8th seed? What the heck's going on? And how... The Hornets are the fucking 4th seed. Jeez! So I think it's going to end up being Sixers, Bucks, Nets, or Sixers, Nets, Bucks. Those are the top 3. I can tell you that right now. And then I'm going to go Heat as a 4 seed. Celtics, I'll go Heat as a 4 seed. Knicks as a 5 seed. Celtics as a 6th seed, the Bulls as a 7th seed, and I'd say the Hornets as an 8th seed. That's what I think. That's what I think the East is going to end up with. Celtics are understandable for their placing. They are hurt. We're only 2 games above the 15th seed. Let's go back to the East. I didn't just get depressed by looking at the Houston Rockets standings. I didn't just look at where the Rockets are and get sad. Anyway, lads, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. It helps us out a whole bunch. If you want to be a part of the family, go down there, join Twitch, follow me over there. Link is down in the description below. Helps us out a bunch. We do live stream almost every single day, so if you're interested, go down there, click the link, follow us on Twitch. But thank you guys so much for watching. More rebuilds will be coming out soon. I'll catch you in the next video. Push!